From the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Welcome back. It's just about 6:30. Good morning. I'm Devin Fehely.
And I'm Melissa Kane.
A security camera captured footage of a hospital employee tackling an armed man at San Jose's Good Samaritan Hospital. It happened Thursday morning in the ER. Investigators say the suspect walked into Good Sam's non-public emergency entrance, flashing a gun while demanding to be seen by medical personnel. At one point, the employee approached the suspect as he sat on a gurney.
He walked up to him, grabbed the gun, threw it, and then tackled him and took him to the ground.
They're saying that the nurses are detaining the male right now and that they have a hold of the gun.
Now, no shots were fired. The suspect was taken into custody without further incident. This is a picture of the suspect's gun obtained by KPIX 5. The weapon was a pellet gun, but strongly resembled a real gun commonly used by law enforcement and the military.
And a Hayward High School football star who was headed to play at the University of Wyoming this fall remains missing and presumed drowned in the waters off Half Moon Bay. Yesterday evening, friends gathered at Hayward High's campus to remember Naphtali Moy. Many of those who played football with him called him a brother. On Thursday, Moy, better known as Neff, got caught in a rip current. He lost his boogie board and disappeared in the waters off Poplar State Beach.
He was just a great young man. He was loyal. He persevered in spite of all the circumstances thrown in front of him. He was a great football player, a great teammate.
Moy's family is also keeping a vigil, but this one at the beach where he vanished. His mother, Lisa, scanning the surf for any signs of his body. A heavy fog has made it difficult for rescuers to find him. Now, they did get word of a possible sighting of him yesterday morning, so they searched the waters again, but found nothing.
An investigation is underway this morning after an 18-month-old child fell from a fire escape in Oakland. Officers responded at an apartment complex along Martin Luther King Jr. Way yesterday afternoon after reports of a toddler not breathing. The East Bay Times reports the child fell 20 feet from the second-story fire escape. First responders rushed the toddler to the hospital where he had surgery. He is in critical condition this morning.
And San Francisco's MTA under scrutiny from state regulators after a woman was seen being dragged by a moving train. The California Public Utilities Commission has launched an investigation probing that incident last week. The SFMTA says they were already in the process of installing new door sensors even before that woman's arm got stuck between doors. And regulators also looking into an issue with the new Muni fleet, a shear pin. That's the device right there with the arrows pointing at them. They connect two cars together. Well, one broke off on a train last week. An investigation revealed that another pin was also broken on a second train. So for now, Muni has been running all of its newer trains as single cars on the J line.
Investigators are reviewing hours of video from officers' cameras after a deadly confrontation between Fremont police and an armed man. Police say an officer was driving down Civic Center near Washington Hospital Thursday night when the man suddenly fired at his patrol car.
There's been shots fired at me across from Washington Hospital.
Fremont police say the officer made a U-turn, stopped his car, grabbed his rifle and shot the suspect. A pair of officers who happened to be nearby sped to the scene. They found the suspect shot and bleeding, but not willing to surrender.
The suspect crawled towards the firearm, actually grabbed onto the firearm, pointed it at our officers, and both of our officers fired at the suspect.
The suspect died a short time later. Police are now trying to figure out what prompted the gunman to attack their fellow officer.
And a Milpitas woman has made her first court appearance in connection with the death of her 3-year-old grandson. Fous Abdi Hashi faced a judge yesterday for the first time on murder charges. She stood next to her lawyer as the charges were read against her. Investigators say she strangled her grandson at their Milpitas home on Monday.
There's nothing that we can do to bring him back, but we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that the person responsible is held accountable. And our condolences go out to Ayub's family.
Hashi has been charged with 3 counts: child endangerment, assault resulting in death, and murder.
A judge overseeing the case of a deadly stabbing at a BART station says he'll probably let prosecutors examine the suspect's mental health history. John Lee Cowell is accused of killing Nia Wilson at the MacArthur BART station in Oakland last July. Yesterday, the judge says he finds good cause to grant a prosecution request to see Cowell's mental health records. A final ruling is expected next week.
And 2 Southern California parents have been sentenced for torturing and abusing their 13 children. As Tina Patel reports from Riverside County, the kids got a chance to speak their minds right to their parents.
My parents took my whole life from me, but now I'm taking my life back.
That's the voice of the oldest Turpin child, now 30 years old. She is trying to keep her privacy as she continues her recovery, which is why the judge asked us not to show her face. But she wanted to address her parents, David and Louise Turpin, before they were sentenced for torture and false imprisonment.
Life may have been bad, but it made me strong. I fought to become the person I am.
The couple, who had 13 children in all, broke down as one of their sons addressed the court, speaking about the conditions in their Paris home and the way they were raised.
Sometimes I still have nightmares of things that had happened, such as my siblings being chained up or getting beaten.
But that boy, now 27 years old, say he and his siblings are trying to move forward, turning to their faith to help them make sense of what happened.
I love my parents and have forgiven them for a lot of the things that they did to us.
David and Louise Turpin, who agreed to plead guilty so their children would not have to testify during a trial, were both given life sentences with the first chance of parole in 25 years. They read statements talking about their love for their family and their hope at having some sort of contact in the future.
I am so proud of each and every one of my children. I miss all of my children, and I will be praying for them.
I really look forward to the day I can see them, hug them, and tell them I'm sorry.
After the sentencing, the attorney for the adult Turpin children gave an update on their condition.
I think you can say they're all thriving. They all have gained strength. They all have gained weight.
Although many of the siblings are now living independently, he says they stay in contact with each other and plan to remain a close family.
The one thing that I've learned from them is that our clients are, most of all, survivors. They're not victims.
That attorney says all the children agree that the sentences their parents received is fair, but they have different opinions on whether they want to have any contact with their parents in the future. In Riverside, Tina Patel, KPIX 5.
One of the kids actually asked for a lighter sentence for the parents, saying, quote, they believed that everything they did was to protect us. And San Francisco police are busy preparing for today's big 420 celebration at Hippie Hill.
The massive marijuana smokeout takes over Golden Gate State Park every April 20th. And with it falling on a Saturday this year, organizers expect anywhere from 25 to 30,000 people to attend.
Treat this park, which is 149 years old, as preciously as it deserves to be treated.
The city says it wants people to have a good time, but also to be careful. There were several opioid overdoses last year. Police will be all over the park later this morning looking for illegal drugs and other banned items. Glass, alcohol, drones, weapons, and pets are not allowed.
And a number of local businesses are offering 420 deals on munchies. Ben & Jerry's will throw in a free pint with any delivery order from the dispensary Caliva. You can also get a sandwich at Ike's for $4.20, and the Bird will have a free sandwich ready for customers who line up and follow them on Instagram.
Just yesterday, activists held a rally at San Francisco Airport in support of a Filipino youth activist. The activists contend that ABBA was subjected to racial profiling and was an example of poor treatment of immigrants at U.S. entry points.
SFO and the U.S. government are the ones who had no business detaining, torturing, and deporting Jerome.
ABBA flew in from the Philippines last year and was detained for questioning by custom agents because of unspecified problems with his visa. He was placed on a flight to Manila more than a day later. Customs and Border Protection has not returned a call seeking comment on the case.
And a sign of progress at the new Transbay Terminal in San Francisco, crews are about to remove a temporary shoring system. Now, in order to do that, Fremont Street will be closed between Howard and Mission each night for the next 4 weeks. The work begins tomorrow night. The entire transit center has been closed since September when workers discovered cracks in 2 beams on a bus deck. The 2 shoring systems were installed to keep that deck stable. An apparatus is on First Street, and that's set to be taken down next month. The Joint Powers Authority says it hopes to have the transit center completely back open in June.
Sideshows are a growing thorn in the side of city leaders and law enforcement, and now the city of Oakland is making it a mission to crack down. Last weekend, a sideshow in Oakland ended with a bus and a semi-truck going up in flames. Oakland police plan to beef up patrols this weekend. And the Chronicle reports that Mayor Libby Schaaf announced she's forming a direct response team that takes input from community members. The report also says the city council is throwing support behind a state resolution allowing repeat offenders to face felony charges for sideshows.
And BMW is adding nearly 185,000 vehicles in the U.S. to a 2017 recall for possible engine fires. Now, the recall covers a dozen 3 Series, 5 Series, and Z4 models from the 2006 model year, and that brings the total number of vehicles recalled to about 925,000. Now, dealers will fix that problem at no cost to owners starting next month. And major expansion plans for a quarry in the hills above Cupertino, and that's at the center of environmental protests. The Lehigh Permanente Quarry plans to file an application to dig a second pit on the southern portion of its property. Now, the current quarry pit covers 630 acres and produces 70% of the cement used in Santa Clara County and more than half in the Bay Area. Now, neighbors have long complained about pollution concerns, and once a formal application is filed, there's expected to be an extensive environmental review and community input.
San Jose City leaders are fighting back against a proposed water rate hike that some say punishes customers who conserved water. Mayor Sam Liccardo and the City Council sent a letter to the State Public Utilities Commission opposing the rate hike. It is the second increase in 6 months. Now, during the drought, the San Jose Water Company sold less water than expected. Now it has to make up for a $9 million shortfall. The rate increase would cause the average bill to go up by about $2 a month beginning in July. Mayor Liccardo also wants an investigation into the company's potential merger with Connecticut Water to make sure that ratepayers are not on the hook for any extra costs. If you got your tax return and something didn't look quite right, you may not be alone. The California Tax Board says it issued tens of thousands of tax refunds without verifying if the information was accurate first. That means people may have received a larger or a smaller return than they should have. The board says it happened because of a technical glitch, and they are preparing to notify anyone who may have been affected.
And time now for a look at some of this week's top health stories. Now, people who skip breakfast and eat dinner close to bedtime are about 5 times more likely to experience further cardiac complications or die following a heart attack. That's according to Brazilian researchers who recommend eating a big breakfast and having dinner at least 2 hours before bedtime. Meanwhile, millions of Americans are prescribed statins to manage high cholesterol, but research in the journal Heart tracked 165,000 patients. They found that after 2 years of statins, half of them had not reached healthy cholesterol levels. The study suggests that patients need a more personalized treatment plan to reduce the risk of heart disease. And ginkgo might be the wave of the future for treating skin infections. Researchers at Emory University studied extracts from the seeds of the ginkgo biloba tree, and the samples showed antibacterial activity that may work against acne, psoriasis, and eczema.
People around the world are preparing to celebrate Earth Day on Monday. CBS This Morning will air a series of reports that day on our changing environment. It's called Earth Matters. CBS This Morning Saturday co-host Michelle Miller told morning anchor Michelle Gallego that their correspondents are going global.
We are. In fact, we're in India, a country where air pollution is at epidemic levels. South Africa as well. Here in North America, along the Rio Grande, where I went, drought conditions are forcing people living along the river to rethink the way they live and adapt. The Amazon jungle in South America as well.
Well, if you're planning to get outdoors this weekend and you're thinking about today or tomorrow is going to be the nicer day outside. Today is going to be cool and breezy with some leftover clouds for the first part of the day. You can see the daytime highs there only getting into the low 60s for the Bay, but we'll be near 70 on Sunday, and it'll be upper 70s inland on Sunday, and then the real warm-up takes hold. And as we get into the middle part of next week, those are daytime highs in the upper 80s inland. It's going to be another warm midweek.
All right. Well, it's time for us to call it a morning. Thank you for watching KPIX 5 News This Morning.